Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brandon's Haunted Library. My name is Brandon, your undead librarian, and I read and talk about fantasy, literary fiction, and of course, horror. Thank you for choosing my video. Today, we're diving headfirst into spooky season with my favorite horror books and those that are currently on my TBR this fall. From monsters to slashers, from the eerie unknown of science fiction to the classics of horror, I've hopefully got something for every horror fan. I've broken this video down into sections starting with monsters and the supernatural, then heading to Latin American horror, followed by killers and slashers, science fiction horror, and wrapping it up with the classics of horror. Now let's get spooky. Let's kick things off with The Watchers by A.M. Shine. If you're into atmospheric terror, you might really like this one. This was the inspiration for the movie called The Watchers from earlier this year with Dakota Fanning. I promise the book is better than the movie, though it does have a lot of the same plot holes. It's set in a deep remote forest of Ireland, where our main character, Mina, finds herself stranded after a car accident. She stumbles upon a group of survivors living in an eerie, isolated cabin. But here's the terrifying part. Once night falls, they have to lock themselves inside and stay completely silent. Outside, there are these mystical creatures watching their every move. If you love a slow-build horror story that really plays on your fears of the unknown with a surprising twist at the end, The Watchers will keep you on edge long after you finish reading. Now let's move on to Salem's Lot by Stephen King. For those who know me, you'll know that King is one of my favorite all-time authors and the reason I fell in love with horror books in the first place. And Salem's Lot? Wow, this one still gives me chills. It's a classic King story, and in my opinion, one of his scariest works. The story centers around the small town of Jerusalem's Lot, or Salem's Lot, where a writer returns only to find the town is slowly being consumed by vampires. Something King does incredibly well is write in eerie small town settings, and the slow spread of evil makes this a truly unsettling read. And if you haven't read it yet, now's the perfect time to. Max just released a film adaptation, and while I'm cautiously optimistic that the movie will be good, I always recommend diving into the book first. King's storytelling and the way he builds tension in this one is something that just hits differently in written form. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, grab the book and trust me, you'll want to experience this classic before watching it unfold on screen. And speaking of Stephen King, another one of his books that's currently on my TBR this spooky season is Cujo. I haven't read this one yet, but I know it gets a lot of praise from King's fans, and I'm really excited to dive into it. Cujo is about a seemingly lovable Saint Bernard dog who turns into a terrifying monster after being bitten by a rabid bat. Now, what makes this story so intriguing is that it takes something as ordinary and lovable as a dog and twists it into something absolutely horrifying. King is a master at turning everyday fears into full-blown nightmares, and I'm curious to see how he embraces the chaos in this one. If you've read it, let me know what you thought in the comments, and if you haven't, maybe we can read it together this spooky season. Next up is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, a book I enjoyed and think would be perfect pick for spooky season, especially for those who don't want anything too intense. It's not the kind of horror I typically go for, but it was a fun read with a cute rom-com vibe, and the werewolf element added just the right amount of spooky flair for me. The story follows Rory, who returns to her hometown and has a run-in with a mysterious creature, leaving her dealing with some unexpected changes. And while the werewolf transformations aren't super graphic or frequent, they bring an eerie twist to what otherwise is a witty, lighthearted story. If you enjoy dark humor with a touch of the supernatural, Such Sharp Teeth is a great recommendation, especially for readers who might get scared easily but still want to get into the Halloween spirit. And since we're on the topic of Rachel Harrison, another one of her books that is currently on my TBR is Cackle. I've heard it's a cozy, witchy read with just the right amount of creepiness, perfect for the fall. It follows a woman named Annie who moves to a small town after a tough breakup and befriends a mysterious, charming woman who seems to have some magical secrets of her own. I'm really excited to dive into this one because I enjoyed Such Sharp Teeth, and it sounds like the kind of atmospheric, witchy story that's perfect for spooky season. I'm not typically drawn to witch horror, but if you're into stories about witches with a side of eerie charm, I have a feeling Cackle would be a great pick for you. I'm excited to dig into it myself. Next on my TBR is another witchy book. Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brahm. This book had a lot of buzz surrounding it, and I can't wait to check it out this fall. Set in colonial New England, it's a haunting tale that explores witchcraft and societal paranoia. The story follows a woman named Abatha, who becomes entangled with a mysterious and dark figure known as Slewfoot. Slewfoot promises to be a chilling and immersive read that I think will dive deep into witchcraft and the supernatural, while also tackling deeper themes concerning humanity. I'm excited to see how Brahm weaves together horror and history into this one. Next up on my TBR is The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, a book that beautifully captures the spirit of the season. I first encountered Bradbury ages ago when I read Fahrenheit 451, which I remember enjoying a lot. The only horror book I've ever tackled from him is Something Wicked This Way Comes, and his poetic style truly stuck with me long after I turned the last page. In The Halloween Tree, a group of children embark on an enchanting journey through time and space to rescue their friend Halloween Night. As they traverse various cultures and historical periods, they encounter supernatural entities like witches, mummies, and even the essence of death himself. Bradbury weaves these fantastical creatures into a narrative, exploring the origins of Halloween and the significance of mortality. I think The Halloween Tree will be a perfect read for those chilly autumn evenings when the air is crisp and the leaves are falling. Might even be a perfect read for Halloween night, as it is pretty short. Now I want to dive into a new section, focusing on Latin American horror books. I recently released a video of Latin American horror books to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, so be sure to check that out for more of my thoughts on these titles. First up is Monstrillo by Mexican novelist Gerardo Samano Cordova. This unique novel follows a grieving mother who creates a creature from her deceased son's lung, only to discover that her monstrous creation has its own will. It's a haunting exploration of loss, identity, and the bonds of love that go beyond the grave. If you're looking for something that pushes the boundaries of horror while offering deep emotional resonance, Monstrillo is a fantastic choice. Next up is Jawbone by Ecuadorian novelist Monica Ojeda. This novel weaves a dark tale of obsession and power dynamics between friends, centering on a group of teenage girls who become entangled in a web of secrets and supernatural elements. With feminist themes of violence and the haunting nature of trauma, Ojeda's writing is both lyrical and chilling, making it a captivating read. If you're interested in a story that delves into the complexity of female friendships with unsettling scenes of horror, Jawbone is definitely worth picking up. Next we have Our Share of Night by Argentine writer Mariana Enriquez. This gripping epic novel follows a father and son as they navigate the dark and twisted legacy of a secret cult in Argentina. Enriquez masterfully blends elements of horror with a rich exploration of family ties and the haunting shadows of the past. With its atmospheric storytelling and chilling themes, this book delves into the depths of human depravity and the impacts of trauma. This is a long one, but if you're looking for a powerful narrative that combines horror with social commentary, Our Share of Night is a must-read. Next up is a short story collection from Mariana Enriquez called A Sunny Place for Shady People, which is on my TBR. This collection of short stories offer glimpses at the darker side of life in contemporary Argentina, where the supernatural often intertwines with the mundane. I'm particularly excited to continue to explore her unique take on horror in this shorter format, as I've heard this collection captures her signature style perfectly. If you're intrigued by stories that blend everyday realities with an eerie twist, A Sunny Place for Shady People might be a great addition to your reading list as well. Next on my TBR is The Hacienda by Mexican-American author Isabella Cañas. Set in post-independence Mexico, this gothic horror novel follows Beatriz, who moves into her late father's estate only to discover that the house holds dark secrets and supernatural occurrences. As she navigates her new life, she encounters a sinister presence that threatens her sanity and safety. I'm really looking forward to the rich atmosphere and historical context that Cañas brings to the story. If you enjoy gothic tales with the touch of the supernatural, The Hacienda definitely one to add to your reading list as well. And finally, we have Mexican Gothic by Mexican-Canadian author Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is also on my TBR this season. Set in 1950s Mexico, this atmospheric novel follows Noemi Taboada as she travels to a remote mansion to check on her cousin, who has sent a disturbing letter. Once there, she uncovers unsettling family secrets and a dark history tied to the estate. I've heard that Moreno Garcia's writing is rich with gothic elements, creating a haunting and immersive experience that explores themes of identity and colonialism. I'm excited to dig into Mexican Gothic this spooky season. Now that we've explored some fantastic Latin American horror titles, I encourage you all to check out my recent video, Latin American Books to Celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, for more of my thoughts on these books. But moving on, we're diving into killers and slashers, where I'll be discussing some spine-chilling and chaotic tales that are sure to satisfy your craving for blood, gore, and terror. First up is a recent release and recent read for me called The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, a captivating feminist psychological horror that follows Jiwon, whose life unravels after her father's affair and departure. As she struggles with her family's disintegration and her own academic failures, she becomes consumed with the dark dreams filled with haunting blue eyes and the curiosity with eating them. This brilliantly inventive tale explores themes of rage, obsession, and the quest for familial connection, marking Monica Kim as a bold new voice in the horror genre. Her use of body horror in this was so gross. If you're looking for a gripping read that blends horror with sharp social commentary, this is a must-read. Continuing with our killer and slasher section, we have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This novel is a love letter to the slasher films, blending sharp social commentary with gory, visceral horror. Set in a small town, the story follows Jade, a troubled teenager obsessed with horror movies and the rules of the slasher genre. When a series of gruesome murders begin to unfold, she recognizes the classic tropes she knows all too well are coming to life all around her. As she races against time to uncover the truth, readers are treated to a wild ride filled with body horror and blood-soaked sequences that pay homage to the genre's finest. Stephen Graham Jones's sharp wit and keen insights into the nature of fear made this an unforgettable and thrilling read for fans of horror. If you're ready for a terrifying journey filled with chaos and carnage, My Heart is a Chainsaw is definitely a book you won't want to miss. This is the first book in a slasher trilogy, with the next book, Don't Fear the Reaper, being another book on my TBR that I'm really excited to dig into. Next up is another entry from Stephen Graham Jones on my TBR, Night of the Mannequins, a chilling novella that also expertly showcases the essence of slasher tales. The story revolves around a group of friends who, seeking to create their own horror movie experience, decide to play a prank involving a mannequin. However, what starts as a harmless joke quickly spirals into a nightmare as the mannequin seems to come to life, leading to a series of terrifying and deadly events. If this is anything like My Heart is a Chainsaw, I'm looking forward to its sharp commentary on the horror genre, and hopefully its relentless pace given its novella length. I'm excited to see how the tension builds and how the eerie premise unfolds, making Night of the Mannequins a highly anticipated addition to my spooky season reading list. The final book in our Killers and Slasher section is Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix, which I'm really looking forward to reading this spooky season. This gripping horror novel reimagines the slasher genre through the lens of those who survived it. It follows a group of women who were the sole survivors of various notorious horror movie-style massacres, coming together to support group to share their experiences and cope with their trauma. But when one of their own goes missing, the group finds themselves thrust back into the terrifying reality where the killers they thought were gone may actually be lurking once more. I've heard a lot about Hendrix's clever wit and sharp commentary, and this book promises to blend humor and horror in a way that I know I'll love. I can't wait to dive into this thrilling read that pays homage to the final girl trope while delivering plenty of suspense and surprises. Now let's shift gears into science fiction horror section, where the lines between science fiction and horror blur, creating a deeply unsettling atmosphere. Kicking off this section is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This novel plunges you into the realm of cosmic horror, following the 12th expedition into the enigmatic Area X, a place shrouded in mystery and danger. As a team of women traverse this bizarre and shifting landscape, they encounter phenomena that defy explanation, evoking a sense of dread that permeates every page. The psychological terror escalates as they confront their own fears and the mind-bending secrets hidden in Area X. If you're looking for a haunting tale that explores the limit of human understanding and the vast unknown, Annihilation is an essential read. Continuing our journey through science fiction horror, the next book I recommend is Dawn by science fiction legend Octavia Butler, This powerful novel is the first in Butler's Lilith Broods trilogy, which masterfully blends science fiction and horror elements. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, it follows Lilith Iapo, who awakens after a devastating war to find herself in the care of an alien race known as the Oankali. As she grapples with her new reality, Lilith discovers that the Oankali plan to repopulate Earth using human beings and their own genetic material, leading to a complex and terrifying exploration of consent, identity, and survival. Butler's prose is both evocative and thought-provoking, immersing readers into a narrative that challenges societal norms. Dawn is a gripping and unsettling read that invites you to question the fabric of humanity while navigating the horrors of colonization and transformation. If you're ready for a thought-provoking experience that lingers long after the last page, Dawn is a must-read. Rounding out our science fiction horror section is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, which I'm excited to dive into this spooky season. In this chilling tale, a deep space salvage crew discovers an abandoned luxury space liner that vanished decades earlier. As they explore the eerie corridors of the ghost ship, they uncover a dark secret that leads to its demise, encountering supernatural forces that threaten their very survival. I'm hoping for a suspenseful atmosphere filled with tension, making me question what lurks in the space liner. I've heard good things about this, and I can't wait to experience the terrifying journey and see how it unfolds. Now let's delve into the classics of horror, where timeless tales continue to haunt readers with the eerie atmospheres and thought-provoking themes. These stories have shaped the genre and remain essential reading for any horror aficionado. First up, we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This groundbreaking novel follows Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates a living being from assembled body parts. As the creature grapples with its own existence and seeks acceptance, themes of isolation, ambition, and consequences of playing God resonate throughout this haunting narrative. Shelley's exploration of humanity and monstrosity make Frankenstein a must-read for horror lovers. And next we have, of course, Dracula by Bram Stoker. In this iconic tale, Count Dracula seeks to move from Transylvania to England to spread the undead curse. Through letters, diary entries, and newspaper articles, Stoker weaves a chilling story filled with suspense, seduction, and the struggle between good and evil. Dracula remains a defining work in vampire lore and an exploration of Victorian fears. Next, we have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This psychological horror novel follows a group of individuals invited to Hill House to investigate its supernatural phenomena. As they encounter strange occurrences, the psychological tensions among the characters build, leading to a chilling climax. Jackson's masterful storytelling creates an unsettling atmosphere that lingers long after reading. Next up, we have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is Wilde's only novel and tells the story of Dorian Gray, a young man whose portrait ages while he remains eternally youthful, allowing him to indulge in life of debauchery without consequences. This exploration of vanity and morality and the nature of beauty delves deep into human psyche, making it a thought-provoking classic. Next up, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. In this powerful short story, a woman's descent into madness is depicted through her obsession with the wallpaper in her confinement room. Gilman's exploration of mental illness and the oppressions of women in the 19th century resonates today, making this a crucial piece of feminist literature. Now, in my opinion, you can't have a Halloween reading list without Edgar Allan Poe. Poe's work, including The Telltale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher, and The Mask of the Red Death, showcase his mastery of the macabre and the psychological horror of the human mind. His themes of madness, death, and the supernatural have cemented his place as a cornerstone of American Gothic literature. And finally, we have Carmilla by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. This classic novella is on my TBR this season and tells the story of Carmilla, a young female vampire who forms a close bond with an unexpected victim, Laura. With its haunting atmosphere and exploration of themes such as sexuality and female friendship, Carmilla is considered a seminal work that predates Bram Stoker's Dracula and remains influential in vampire fiction. And that wraps up my horror recommendation and TBR for this season. Whether you're in the mood for something supernatural, a good slasher, or a sci-fi nightmare, I hope this list has you covered. And if you're still itching for more frights and scares, I'll soon be releasing a video of 31 scary movie recommendations for the Halloween season. All of these movies are on streaming platforms this month, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss this video. Drop your favorite horror reads in the comments below and let me know what books you've been picking up this spooky season. As always, happy reading, and I'll see you in the next video.